Alrighty, we are live. Hi. Hey, hey. So we are live. It is Thick Thigh Thursday. Ooh, we're gonna turn off my sounds. We're gonna turn. Oh no, what's happening? Okay. Oh no, what's happening? There's a lie. Ha! Hey, there we go. Now I'm done being an old lady, I think. For now. Welcome. I hope you got to see my latest TikTok. The a little bit of conversation was happening there. I hope you got to get into my story and leave a question, leave a comment. Um, we are talking about we're kind of circling back to this idea of womanhood. It is still Women's History Month, so I do want to have that conversation. Um, but in this moment, we're talking more about um, this idea of like being a woman means that you always have to be like so desperately seeking love. And if you are not if you're a real woman, you've got a family and you barefoot pregnant in the kitchen, damsel in distress, you Prince Charming came to save you. That's the only way to be a woman. That is pretty much how we were raised, right? Like societally, at least on TV and media. Drop like a heart or a like if that sounds familiar to you, right? Like we're used to the Disney princess concept of like, oh, well, if you are in need and then there's some man he's gonna be fine and strong and he's gonna come save you, and no, regardless of your situation, right? Like you could be locked in a tower, you could be a princess, your father won't let you flourish, you could be um just all of these things, like any situation, it doesn't matter how powerful you are, somehow you would be better if a man got you. What? uh, like at least like I said, drop hearts. I want to know, hey, I want to know if that really resonates for you, because I feel like that was a thing. Like when I put my story up yesterday, I wasn't sure if people were gonna respond super quickly to it. And I feel like there were so many responses like, yes, this is a thing, this is a story, this is the thread of my life. I have like finally decided, like I've learned, you know what, it's about me. I need to focus on myself. I need this, I need that. And I'm so glad that like people are coming into their power in this and coming into their space and saying, like, no, I don't need to subscribe to this idea. I don't need to force myself to be in this situation where I am at the beck and call of a man, right? Um I'm never going to be I don't need to be in this situation where I am waiting for a man to fulfill my life, to make this happen. Um and I feel like uh I feel like it seems questionable sometimes, even just for me, because like y'all know I talk about my relationship all the time. I do, and I have a relationship. I love that man. But I've also been in relationships where I left. I also so like I tell my life story, and like life story. I People tell me like I need to do one of those the TikToks that with all the pages of like what happened, right? Like I did it all right. And I clearly see this with quotes, right? Like I did it all right, right? Like I met my husband right after I finished college, or the year I was finishing college. And we got married the year I finished grad school. And then I was 25 and it was great. And it's, yeah, that fell apart, y'all. That all fell apart. We don't which is that's that's just what it is. And so I had to really come into myself. I had to um really figure out where my space was. Thank you for the likes, thank you for all the likes, thank you for all the fires, thank you for all the things. Like really remember, this is how we promote these things, this is how we get more people in these conversations. Share it with people. I would love for you to share the live. I would really appreciate that. That's how you support your favorite content creators for free. Okay. um but yeah, so right, so I was married for 15 years. You can't rely on that. You got to do you, right? You always say that too, right? Like I did it all right because that's what we were told to do. We were told to find love. We were like, and I remember in high school being all boy crazy, and like it's cool to be boy crazy in high school, boys or girl crazy in high school. Your hormones, right? Like your hormones are raging and changing, and you see yourself differently than you were before, and all the stuff, your body's changing, all that stuff, right? So those are real things that happen at that point in time. And then as you get older, it's like you should settle down. You should have new focus. You should have a real, like, some idea of focus. And that doesn't mean that you need to live your life a certain way. It just means that, like, being boy crazy, being focused on other people is not the way to do that. And honestly, being focused on other people in the sense of like just where they're at in life is also not the way to do that, right? We can't be the best women we want to be and live our best lives and all these things if we're constantly in comparison mode. Comparison is the thief of joy. You'll hear me say that. You'll hear any of your positivity creators say that, because it's true. If you are going to continue to compare yourself to what people's lives are like, then it doesn't matter. You can't be happy. And it's the same thing, honestly. Let's take a step back. I love you too. Um, hey, let's take a step back too. Think about that. Honestly, even the point of judging yourself to say, well, I did it right, compared to who? Why are you comparing yourself? Why are you in this space? And that's a tough place to kind of come back to, right? Because it's like, oh, well, I shouldn't have put that judgment forward even for myself. And if I can release that, if I can release that sense of judgment, that ideology, then I can be happier. I can do so much more with my life. I can do so much better. Um, I asked in my story, and I asked in my post on TikTok, do you feel like you have to play the damsel in distress role in order to find a man? And is that paramount? Right? Like that's the thing that they've told us our whole lives when we were kids and growing up. And like I said, in the movies and all that stuff, it's like, why? Why is that the focus? Why is that what we need? You can have and honestly, I'm gonna go through my comments. I'm gonna go through the questions. I want you to I want you to add in your conversation because I really do. I want to have these conversations with you too. I'm going back in my comments real quick. Hey, hey, hello, hello, hello. And oh yeah, you have a coworker that's all in your business. She always wants to be in your business, and um, she always wants you to do it the way she wants to do it, and that's not up to you. You don't have to do that. Um, I don't. So I'm just gonna address this real quick. I don't know what you're talking about. So, hey, hey. All right. So I had one person here reply to my story and said, so my question is, did you feel like this? Do you feel like you have to play this damsel in distress role in order to um get a man, right? To get the attention of a man? And the first reply was, hell no, I'm a gangster all day, every day. And I love that. And that's actually so is my friend who said this, but like for real. She is in another situation where it's like she again had this family and came into um her life this way, and then that fell apart, and then it was rough to deal with like the kids. It was rough to deal with her partner, her ex, right, to get through, and it can be tumultuous. You can't play the damsel in distress in that moment. Now honestly, there's plenty of women that do it to play their role and get power in court. uh and like, I'm not saying that that's okay unless it's needed. Like if it was needed and that's the steps that need to be taken, that's your specific situation. In general, now you got to be a gangster. Now you got to get on your own. You have to focus on yourself. You have to prove what it is that you can provide, right? Those are real things. That's all you can do here. um the other side of that, right? Like, so somebody else also replied here and said, like, I have a master's, I have a PhD, I don't have children, and people are always asking me, when am I going to settle down? Right. And it's like, so here, if you can be so accomplished in life and people are still looking around and looking down at you like, well, why aren't you with child? It's very frustrating, right? It can be, right? Is that a situation you've been in? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, I like it. I love it when you drop the likes, and then I know like these are things that are resonating with you. And it feels hard, right? Like even my waxer, before I left New York, my waxer, one time, this old Indian lady, she was like, oh, No children? How old are you? And I'm like, this was very aggressive and very direct, and I don't even know you. Like, it's one thing when it's like aunties and somebody in your family and this and the other, but it's like, yo, this was you all up in my business right now, but this is work. You're at work. Mind your business. Right? Like, this is not, you don't need to be talking to me about what I need as far as having children. And then, like, do I need to have children? You know how many unfed children there are in this world? How many unclothed, unhomed children? Like, I don't need to produce offspring. Now, I will also say on the other side of that, I never want anybody, especially like I can only go from my perspective. I speak from my perspective all the time, right? And if you are a person that doesn't have children or doesn't have a family, you're not married, whatever, you've heard this speak, you've heard these conversations happening, right? And so it's hard to like empathize, it's hard to just be comfortable, like to be comfortable in this space. And usually we just kind of learn to deflect, or we learn to just pass it off, let it go, let it roll off your back. If you've had fertility issues, if you've had issues within your previous relationships, I know for myself, like I said, I'm divorced. um and I know that that was a thing, like it was really specifically like triggering and painful, actively painful, when people, when I was still married, but things were falling apart, asking me, like, so when are y'all having kids? If you don't shut the, like, it's a real feeling. We are going through it at home. Mind your damn business. And that's how it feels. It's really triggering. It's really like, and it can cause more fights. It can cause more problems, right? So I am saying to like, and I say this as in like, if you're here and you're listening, this resonates with you, again, drop the hearts. I appreciate it. But like, you know what this is like. And then so when people don't have that, um can't give that support, then it's like you really don't know how to act, right? And so that's the thing, you really don't know how to act. Older people don't know boundaries. A lot of older people don't know boundaries. And then they'll still see you as a child. I am 33. I am not a child. Mind your business. um right? I ask them for money and say, are you paying for them kids? Exactly. Exactly. That is a huge thing too. You have this financial and time responsibility. That's amazing. I'm so glad that you want me to have children so you could watch them every single weekend, and that you want me to sacrifice and you could pay for their college, for all that savings and all that money that I'm supposed to spend at some point. All of that. I'm so glad that you want me to have kids so you can support me that way. That's amazing. And they probably won't, right? They're not going to do that. They're not going to participate in your life, most likely, much at all. The people that are specifically saying this, right? Like your friends might be like, yeah, I can't wait for you guys to have kids, but they're actually going to love on your kids. But you got these other older people that they weren't interested in raising you, right? These are your aunties, uncles, and people that are just auxiliary family. They weren't interested in raising you. They're not going to be interested in raising your kids. It is not their business. And that's it's hard. It's hard to set fresh boundaries as an adult in this space. Because you are used to being that role of deference to them. You're used to them being your auntie, being your whatever, right? You are used to hearing those things. And so it's really hard to set new boundaries and to start talking to them differently. And like I said, sometimes it's easier to just kind of let it roll off. But like you really do, if you don't have an answer for yourself, if you can't address it, if you feel shame, I really want you to address that. One, with maybe we're friends, maybe it's just worth a conversation so you can figure out what is a good like answer for you, a response when you get into that situation. Because if you have like a ready response, it'll be so much easier and feel like less work for you to come up with something to say and feel like less of a hit. Now, I will say this, that response might be petty. Feel free. I don't care. They deserve it, in my personal opinion. But then that might be uncomfortable for you living in that space directly after you make that comment. So notice what you're putting yourself into, right? And then you have the option to, again, pay them no mind, kind of let it roll off, pass off the buck to another conversation, distract them immediately with other information. Such and such just got a new tattoo. Walk away, clean out the room. Just that's fine. Like, and if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. That's how you want to handle it. Like, good on you, I guess. Um, right. And then you also have the option to, one, be honest. You could be very honest. You could talk about that. You could, and then so here's the other end, right? Like, so like I said, you can make them uncomfortable and you can make the room quiet. And you can say something that's like, I'd rather not talk to you about my fertility issues. You don't actually have to have any fertility issues. They just will be embarrassed. And they'll be like, oh, and quiet and jumpy and nervous and awkward. And they might even be upset at you for making them feel awkward. And then you smile in their damn face. Because that's a thing, right? Like, oh, do you feel awkward now? How do you think I felt about 30 seconds before you started talking? Like, after you started talking. You put me here, I put you here. Welcome. We in hell now. Together. Like, this is where you wanted to be, babe. This is where you wanted to be. You brought us here. So I just matched you here. That's it. Um, yes. Right. I pay them no mind and I talk back now. People just parrot what they've been hearing. Exactly. They don't really know. You can be child free by choice. Absolutely. Um, right. And you can talk bell hooks to them. You can talk all these things about women's rights and you um you have a lot of options. I saw a video the other day. I'll probably put it in my story after this. I was kind of holding it for this conversation, right? But she was like, um, do you um she was saying, like, do you think, what would happen, do you think, if people responded to people with children the way they do to childless people, right? And it was like, oh wow, it's a shame you had those kids, you'd be such a great solo traveler. And I was like, hell yeah, you would. And like, they talk about all these, like you're raising a kid in this economy, and like, yo, and these are all real things. It is expensive, it is time consuming, it is energy consuming. If that's not and then, like, I've heard people with one kid say things like, I really couldn't have more, I don't know, I don't have more to give, right? And like, honestly, these are, I'll say half and half, people that probably never actually wanted kids and ended up with one. And not saying that they don't love their kid, it's just that that wasn't part of the plan, right? And then the other side is like, no, like, I am in a like, I'm married, I have a partner, I have whatever, or we share custody and it's very even, and the kid is like this, but it's still like, ooh, okay, this is a damn lot. It is a lot. It is a lot. Don't let anybody tell you it's not a lot. It's a whole person. You and think about your heaviest day. And not like, I don't want to send you into depression, but think about your heaviest day. The hardest day is just hard for you to get up. You're so tired and this and that and the other. And now you got to do all that for some little body that can't do it for themselves. What? It's a lot. That's it. It's a lot. Right. And so you have to be able to say, like, okay, do I have the space for this? Do I have the capacity to this? Do I want to pour into this tiny human who really can't do anything for themselves for but so long? Like, it's going to take a long time to get there. And you're allowed to love children and still not have them. I was a school teacher. I don't have any children. You don't have to have children. And then you don't have to play these roles. And that's kind of the reason I had this conversation with people, right? The post that I made yesterday, we were talking about, I was talking about, like, you don't have to play this damsel in distress role, because absolutely no one is coming to save you. Absolutely no one is coming to save you. There is no man waiting in the wings for you to decide that you want to faint over the edge of a couch, and now he's going to pick you up and bring you to the altar and marry you and then continue to bring you to a house. That's not a life. No one has been in that situation, right? No one. And then also, that's kidnapping. But reeling it back, right? Like, you just don't put yourself in that situation. You just aren't in that space, because that's not a real thing that exists. It might happen in movies, right? Like, I'm thinking Hercules. That was what I was thinking when he picked her up and he walked her all the way, like, home and whatever, right? Great. Yep, he was a Greek god. We're talking about real life people, not in movies, not in stories, not in books. Real life happens. In real life, you need to interact with people, have conversations, open up, trust. You have to find balance in your relationship, which means that you have to start a relationship and talk to people. And um, it means that there's so much more that pours into this and goes into it. It does not mean that you can just be a damsel in distress and sit and like be upset. And so I'll say part of the reason that I wanted to talk about this is because I feel like genuinely the concept of being in a relationship is held so high in our conversations, in our life, in our society that young women and honestly women of any age range and scale, right, put the need to be in a relationship so strong and so high that they put one their own needs, desires, career goals, things like that in the back burner. Foolish. um and then it also gives you a like a hit um to your self-esteem, because especially if you're comparing yourself to other people in relationships. Well, how come I can't find a man? Because this person's got a man, this person's got a relationship, this person found somebody, this person does this, how come I'm still single? And like you're actively denying all the amazing things that you do, right? I am an incredible, I don't know, whatever you are, tennis player. I am in shape, or I am beautiful. I do these makeup tutorials and everybody likes them. I'm a amazing beautician. I've done these people's all this entire school's prom looks, whatever it was, right? Like you've done amazing things, you've done incredible things, you've done beautiful things, you've done like strong things, and you are still comparing yourself to somebody who got a man. I just need y'all to remember the people that got pregnant 4 seconds after high school was over. They had a man too. That don't mean nothing. Don't mean nothing. You can't be in the space to compare yourself to this. Thank you. I'm glad. Thank you for responding and getting in the comments. I appreciate you. Yes, comment, comment. Also, ask your questions if you have questions, comments, experiences. I'd love to hear them. We'd love to talk about them. A man saving you doesn't make y'all compatible. And that's a real thing. If he saves you, like, if you have you ever been in an emergency situation? A fireman save you, a police officer save you. That's not your new boo. Uh, and even in other situations, in work, in school, and whatever, right? Um, if you feel like there's a situation, the if you feel like there's a situation where this person is saving your life, they're your health coach, your therapist. This is why people fall in love with their therapists, their teachers, their coaches, their whatever, right? Because you're in a space where you are trying to you're gaining so much from them, and they're so strong and so intelligent, and they're in this, but that does not mean that that's your boo. That does not mean that that's the person for you. That just means that they showed some skill or trait that saved you. Congratulations. I'm so glad that they did in that moment. But that does not mean that now you are compatible, right? If you start to, this is where I'm trying to bring it home now, right? So the space to be in is yours. And what I mean by that is not stay in your bubble, keep your apartment door closed, don't talk to anybody ever. That's not it. That's definitely not how you get in a relationship. But stop chasing it so hard. If somebody wants to be with you, they will be with you. They will try. If somebody wants to talk to you, they will talk to you. If somebody wants to take you out on a date, they're gonna plan that date. If somebody I could keep going, and it's true. And especially like if you're a heterosexual woman, like, and you are interested in men, one, it's not every man is not going to be for you no matter what, right? Like that's it. That's just true. Thank you for the gifts, thank you for the tokens, I appreciate you. um right, like there's just no way that that's just going to happen, right? You have to put yourself out. You have to work on yourself. You have to be in the spaces. Like somebody commented on the video that I put up of Clyde and I today, right? We did this flexibility challenge. It was cute, funny. We are both yoga teachers. And somebody commented and said, and like, this is not shade to her. Somebody commented and said, "Oh, where's my yoga bae? Like, I need to go, we need to practice or whatever." And like, I cannot express enough that we met and we are aligned and we can do a lot of things together because we were both about this life, right? We were both yoga teachers when we met. We both had these platforms when we met. We both, and honestly, and they have grown since, but we were both doing this. We were both in it. We were both living this life. I did not meet him and then start doing this. Somebody just asked me in the comments how I got into yoga. I got into yoga and I answer this question. Usually people ask it in the lab. I got into yoga when I went back to the gym to start like my fitness after college, like, don't work out. So I started going to the gym and I started on Zumba. And then my best friend got certified in yoga and I loved what it did for her. So I started going. And then like it was a very different experience for her and I, and both amazing, just different. And then I got into the concept of like the lack of representation that's here. So I started doing yoga more publicly and teaching people and all that stuff. And so now we're here, right? And I do confidence coaching. I do these conversations. I do conferences and retreats and all these awesome things that are related to yoga and based in yoga because of the experiences that I had. Because I was pouring into myself as my relationship was ending, as my marriage was ending. I I had yoga as a tool to pour into myself more, to feel like, this is my body is strong. My mind, I can settle it. I can meditate. I can refocus. I can let things go. I can just all these things, right? There it allowed me to make a lot of connections within myself that make this whole journey a lot easier and made me more able and more capable of having these conversations with you and with the women that book my sessions, that come to that book my coaching program, that do my classes, all that stuff, and the people that I have conversations with on social media. It allows me to grow in that space. Mental health is also good. Predatory breathing, yes ma'am. Yep, right. So breathing, again, knowing ways to calm myself, knowing ways to allow myself to function in spaces, right? The things, and I have PTSD from the classroom, diagnosed. um, and that was a space that I had to recover from, and like it still exists. There's ways that it has just played into my life, which is why I made this my life. This is what I do. um Thank you. I love you too. Thank you for being here. And this is the purpose of me being here today. You have your job. Your job is you. Once you have a family, then your job is them, sure, but your job is still you because you can't pour into them if you are empty. Right. And I say this all the time is to moms that I work with, right? It's like, if you let yourself get to nothing, how are you supposed to care for all these people? And I know that it sounds counterproductive. Like, how can I pour into myself when I've got all these things to do for all these folks? If you have nothing, there is nothing to give them. I cannot stress that enough. If you have nothing, there is nothing to give anyone else. And if your life requires you to interact with other people, you won't have it if you don't pour into yourself. The more you pour into yourself, you're going to do things that you like to do. What happens when you go do things you like to do? You're going to meet the people that also like those things. You are going to be in spaces with people that make you happy, that have conversations like you like to have, that are interested in doing the things you like to do. Oh, snap, you meet the love of your life. Bam, it happened. Don't, like, I'm not kidding. And maybe right? There's there's one sound that I don't like the way she said it, but it's true. Like maybe you realize how much you love yourself and you've needed that since you were like 3 years old. I hope that happens for you if that's what it needs to be, because that might be what it is. This whole time you've been trying to love somebody else. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This whole time you've been trying to find somebody else, look for somebody else, love somebody else, but love you. If you can pour that into yourself, like there's so much that will grow from that, that will come from that, that will build from that, right? Like people tell me all the time, like I pull them in because I just have this like happy ass face. I don't really mean to have this happy ass face. It just happens. I've been like this. You guys, if you saw my post like months ago from when I was a little kid, it's just what it is. This is my face. And like I know, like I put a comment, oh no, in my stories that I was like, yeah, I just have resting nice face. Like people just like think that it's great, and I'm always happy, and like I talk in a very way. Like I feel like this version of me, they all know this. I love to talk to people, and this it fires me up, and I love having these conversations. And then like when the cameras are off, or like if it's, I just want to lay down flat and go take a nap, and that's my style. That's me. And so I'm very different people in those spaces, right? And the thing is that I am allowed to take up space in all these different ways because I am true to myself. If I didn't let myself take a nap, if I didn't let myself relax, if I didn't let myself talk about the life that I have and the way that I want to function and operate, I would not be in the relationship that I'm in. I would not be happy with myself the way I am. I would not have this job. Like I'm at work right now, y'all, and I love it. This is it, right? This is what I do. This is what I do. I talk to people. I have these conversations. I help you build your life in a more comfortable way, in a more confident way. I love to do that. Um, and it makes me happy. It makes me feel good. I feel great helping people that want to be helped. And I couldn't ask for anything more. But understand that I'm helping people that want to be helped. I'm not forcing myself on folks. I am not telling you that you need to do it like this and you need to act like this if you're not coming to me for it. And it's the same thing when it comes to a relationship. If you are forcing yourself down somebody's throat, if you're trying and you're reaching and you're begging for a response and you're begging for attention, if you are actively saying things like, watch, I'm gonna post a story and then he gonna text me. How many times have you said something like one, it is true. Two, we both know what he wants if that's the case. So, if that's not all you were looking for, then you could just let him go. You could let him go. You could let that attention go. And it's hard. It's hard to let go of attention. It is because it feeds you. We endorphins, they fire off. We want that. Our bodies crave it. But it's not worth it if it's not leading you towards what you want. Because imagine, I feel like this is the lesson that I learned very early. I wasn't dating quite yet. I was having conversations with my girls and just talking about stuff, but I wasn't dating. This was after my divorce and I wasn't dating yet. One of my friends did start a pandemic relationship with one of her neighbors. And he said, he was talking about his ex, and the statement was, I don't even want to get used to this behavior. Like talking about like the last girl he dated or whatever. And I really, truly love that. I love that men state things straightforward. I know it hurts us women a lot of the time, but I appreciate it. I'm also from New York. Like I'm a thug in my head, right? So it's different. But I don't even want to get used to that. Imagine 5 years later, that man that you had to post a story to get his attention, he's still not quite giving you the right attention, but you've been together all that time. You're still starved for attention, but now you're hooked onto that man and you tied to him, and he's still not quite giving it to you, or he knows when he needs to step it up, or you're gonna start being annoying, right? Is that what you want to get used to? I don't think so. It's hard to tell yourself no to the attention you can get because you need more than that. It's hard because you're getting it, but it's not worth it. That man down there, just giving you the bare minimum, you want to get used to the bare minimum? No. I'm telling you no. Even if you like, well, maybe. No. Now, I'll say this. If you just want to use that man for his body and he just wants to use you for your body, y'all have found a match. You are in fact aligned. Good job. You did it. Go do wild, nasty stuff. Um, but if that's not what you want and that's not what you're looking for, right? Then you need to find somebody else that is going to provide those things. And you have to be doing enough to receive those things, right? That's really it. Um, so no one is coming to save you but you. Pour into yourself. Allow yourself to grow. Allow yourself to be stronger, better, more experienced, learn something new, start a different hobby, go for these different things because the more facets you find of yourself, the more full you are, the shinier you are, the more beautiful you are, the more luminescence comes directly out of your skin because you are so full, you are so fulfilled, you are so happy. You will attract happy. You will attract something that will someone and things that will continue to make you happy, right? If you are negative and you are sad and you are depressed and you keep just pouring into that, you're only going to get more of that negativity. You're only going to go down, right? You need to be doing the things that lift you up. And that's what I have for you today. I am going to stay live. I'm going to end my live on YouTube and on Instagram. And I'm going to stay live on TikTok for a little bit because I've got a couple questions here. If you want to hop over there to get in the conversation, please do so. But I love you all greatly. So as far as, sorry, the